Know what your morals and values, needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables are. Be direct. And finally, understand the meaning of rejection. These are 3 simple tips you can use to be authentic in your dating. Now let me go through each one of them. Knowing your morals and values, needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables. The best way to explain this is through a story. I had a client reach out to me once because she was very frustrated. She had been married to a man for almost 2 decades, and he was a chronic pot smoker, and it was driving her insane, and he would not quit for the relationship. And so she went on explaining, the ins and outs of their relationship over the years. I finally asked her, I said, so how did you guys meet? And she said, well, I was at a house party at a friend of mine, and I just walked through the garage and turned the corner, and there he was in a group of people, and they were all smoking a joint. Well, this is what usually happens. From day one, he was a pot smoker. It was not a surprise. She knew it in that moment, but we all get caught up in, gosh, they're attractive. Gosh, they're easy to talk to, or, there are all these different things because none of us, we all think we know our morals and values. We all think we know our needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables, but we don't. And that is proven by why relationships break up. In every relationship dynamic, the person shows us who they are in the first 3 meetings, maximum, almost always in the first meeting. They will tell you and show you who they are. Even as we're being defensive and not showing all of our cards, their behaviors are right there for us to see. But we're also desperate for connection, but we don't sit down and think these things through. I know I didn't. My first marriage, we had the opposite politics. We didn't agree on anything. We were total polar opposites on almost every category. Well, no one had taught me to sit down and think about what these are. And I mention this whenever I bring this up. I have 3 videos that walk you through this. I'm not trying to sell you to go watch the videos. I'm just offering you, look, if you've never done this, this is why your relationships end up this way, and this is why your dating isn't working out. Because even online, in those short profiles, they'll make little comments or their hobbies and things like that. They're right there for you to see. And yet, you're still swiping right on them. You're going against your morals and values, your needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables. So if you're tired of dating inauthentic people, which is really inauthenticity in ourselves, if we're selecting these kinds of people, it's because we haven't done the work in ourselves. You can find the 3 videos. They're under my codependence playlist, and they start off codependence recovery, and then they have, each one, the one video deals with morals and values, the needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables. If you have not sat down and done that work, your chances of being authentic in your dating practices are 0. Again, I don't mean to be cruel or judgmental, but people, their biggest mistake is they think they know their morals and values, needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables, and they don't. There is a process to go through to discover them. And if you have not done that work, you cannot be authentic in your dating practices. That leads into number 2, be direct. What I mean by this is, many times people in their profiles, they project an image, they try to be silly and funny, they try not to be too direct because they don't want to shut out. They just want to cast as wide a net as possible. And so they're very innocuous, very general. They don't want to really put themselves out there. Do the opposite. Be very, very direct. Now, the mistake most people make is they're very negative. They'll say, I don't want this, 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 this. Nobody wants to read that. Even if that does mean you want the opposite, someone's looking for that, just state the opposite. State what it is you want. Don't list all these negative traits about people, because even if someone finds you attractive, they don't find that attractive. And so stay away from being direct in the negative way. Instead, be positive in the way you're direct. I'm looking for this, 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 and this. I'm this, and this. In other words, it's a mix of who you are as a person. so they can get a direct idea of who you are as a person and the person you're looking for. Don't avoid sharing who you are. Don't make it all about you and nothing about what you're looking for, and don't make it not all about what you're looking for and nothing about you. It's a mix of both so that you can attract and find the person that you're looking for and be authentic in that. Make sure you, as you meet, you ask for and state your needs and wants. There are, simple things that people agree to because it's just, I don't want to come out too harsh. Well, again, if you know your morals and values, needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables, if someone makes a dating suggestion, a first meet place or whatever that goes against that, you need to ask for your needs and wants. You need to say no immediately. Don't walk into these situations where you've already given yourself away and gone against yourself. And finally, I don't know what men do. I'm sure it's the same thing, but as I tell all men, scroll to the last picture a woman posts. It's almost like 100%. The last picture is the most accurate, and ladies, I don't mean this disparagingly, but this is where she's at her heaviest. It's usually the most recent. It's like she's trying to hide it. And so what I've noticed in female profiles is they put at the front, they put the dress that they went to a wedding in that was 5 years ago. And it's not who they are now. And that's the other thing. I'm sure men do this. I've heard horror stories. But most people post pictures of who they used to be, not who they are now. I have a great story on this. My first wife, when we were going through the divorce, I was on Match.com and her profile popped up. And there was a picture from our wedding rehearsal, or what is it, a wedding shower, the shower that you have before the wedding. It was a picture that I was in our house of the two of us sitting on the couch. She had cropped me out. Well, that was, 12, 13 years old. It was a picture of who she used to be, not who she is. And that is just incredibly common. People don't post recent pictures. And, usually that you show up and they're 10, 20, 30, 40 pounds heavier. They're not in that beautiful dress, or he's not in that great suit, whatever it is. Whether you're a man or woman, recognize if you're not putting pictures, there should never be pictures that are more than 3 to 6 months old, ever. They should be refreshed constantly and be accurate. Because you do realize if you're putting up pictures from a year or older, you're setting yourself up for rejection. That person's going to walk in and their first impression of you is, oh, they're a liar. This isn't them. I thought I was meeting that. Not this. You've immediately set up your own demise. And so think about that. If your pictures or your profile isn't direct, it's not accurate, then you are the author of your own self-sabotage. It's your own inauthenticity that's causing all of your dating problems. It's not the other person. You aren't being direct and authentic with who you are in this moment. And as ladies, you can make comments about what men do, but on dating, I would always go to the last picture. That is always the most accurate. Usually it's at their heaviest and they look their oldest in that last picture. It's like this hidden thing. The first 4 or whatever they have, it's like, oh, wow. And then this one's like, oh, that's different. That's the most accurate. So ladies, if that's what you do, I'd encourage you to lead with that, because at least a man knows this is who you are. But when you have this disparity in your pictures, or like you have 5 different hair colors or pictures with a ton of friends, we don't know who you are. Just put pictures of yourself that are within the last 3 to 6 months. Men, do the same thing. This goes to both sides. I just can't speak to men because I don't look at men's dating profiles. Women, I'm sure, like I said, you have tons of horror stories. I'm not trying to pick on one side. It goes both ways. But, I've just had more experience on the one side. So be careful of that. Finally, understand the meaning of rejection. The biggest difficulty people have in dating is they put up false pictures, they put up false profiles because they're afraid of rejection. They don't recognize they're creating it. But they also don't recognize that nobody ever, 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 ever rejects us. Ever. You have never been rejected in your life over anything. Now, let me prove that to you. How many dates have you been on? And say you went for sushi and they ordered a tuna roll and you ordered a California roll. Does that mean they just rejected you? They like tuna. You don't. So, but you don't take that as rejection, right? You just see it as they wanted something different. Well, it's the same with dating. Whether someone has blonde hair, brown hair, blue eyes, brown eyes, whatever, it's no different than someone saying, I like pizza. That's it. That's just what they like. That doesn't mean what you have isn't good enough. It just means they want something different. Just like you. You've never rejected anybody. You may have been with somebody, and as you got to know them, you realized, oh, our morals and values, needs and wants, negotiables and non-negotiables don't line up. I'm not rejecting you. I'm just going to go look for someone who doesn't pursue those things. This is what I want. That's about me. It has nothing to do with you. My morals and values say I want this. So all I'm ever pursuing is what works for me. And that's all anyone's ever pursuing in a relationship, is what works best for them. And that doesn't mean what we like they're rejecting. It means they're pursuing themselves. Now, if a person feels or takes that as rejection, well, then my suggestion is, there's some personal growth work there. Now, that's a sign of very low self-esteem. Now, do you realize for that person who feels this is a rejection, what that means is their worth, their value is tied to somebody else's opinion or acceptance of them. So therefore, they don't have any within themselves because they need it validated externally. Well, that's somebody who's struggling with low self-esteem, low self-love, low self-care, and an ability to recognize that at all times, every single one of us, even at our worst, even in our worst pictures, we always have worth. And so my suggestion is work on that and recognize when you get direct with, because really all of these things that I'm talking about, these mistakes that people make, they think they're protecting against rejection, but they're actually creating it. And all of those, defenses are actually because of low self-worth, low self-esteem. They don't want to be known. Well, get to know yourself. Get to dating and loving yourself and accepting yourself for where you are and what you're doing. And if there's a problem, if you don't like your weight or you don't like your hairstyle or whatever, put a plan in place and address it. Fix it within you and don't place the responsibility on others. Look within yourself and go, I do need to address this. I am blaming them for so-called rejecting me, but it's actually me rejecting myself because I'm not being authentic with how I look, how I'm acting, how I'm behaving, what's in my profile. Wow, I'm the one who's rejecting myself because I'm not even being authentic with who I am. So those are your 3 tips to date authentically. And really what it is show up as who you are now. Learn to love and value who you are now. If you're making any of those mistakes, that's why you're not showing up authentically, is because you're struggling loving who you are in this moment. And so make that your priority in your dating. When you do that, then you can write the direct profile, put up the accurate pictures, and show up as who you are.